Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's hobby video. Today we are looking at the bases and basing for my Horus Heresy Ultramarines. So the bases I'm using for this army are from marchofwar.co.uk, and they are a range called Besieged Ruins. They come in many lots of different sizes. I've got a whole range of different ones for my various Horus Heresy units, but today we're going to look at some 32mm ones, and I have a few legionaries that are already painted as examples. Just give you a bit of a twiddle of the bases. So this is what they look like when they arrive. They are cast resin. They are very, very dusty when you get them, and you have to wash them with hot soapy water to clear all the dust and any mold release off them, as with similar to sort of Forge World and other resin minis. Now, they pose a challenge to me for two reasons. One, I think I love the Scenic bases for Horus Heresy. I think they look really good. I think they really make the models pop. But they are, I mean, if you look at this one, they are a fairly detailed mini in their own right to paint. And if I were to go nuts on painting them, then it'd take me as long as it would to paint the Marine. So I wanted to come up with a scheme that was going to be quick and effective, but I also wanted to be able to show off the mini for the base for the quality it is. I didn't want to do something just really basic, because I think it'd be a shame to invest in the bases and then and not do anything too special with them. So I hit on a happy medium. From a look point of view, I wanted it to be pretty grim dark. I think the battlefields of the Horus Heresy are choked with soot and oil and airborne detritus, and there's just a patina of grime and grease and oil and promethium over everything. So I've achieved that by painting the mini and then painting it, coating it in Agrak's Earthshade. I experimented with a couple of different concentrations, watering it down with Larimer Medium, but I found that it was the right combination for me, because it meant I could be fairly quick on what was underneath, and the Agrax would smooth over everything else, but then achieve that sort of grimy effect. So this is my happy medium, where I've got a relatively quick and straightforward paint job on the base, but it still pops and still looks appropriate for the setting and the battlefield in question. So, in terms of technique, the first thing I've done is sprayed the bases black as an undercoat. Then I've got a number of layers of dry brushing to build up. I will show you what they look like between all the stages as well. So it's a heavy, heavy dry brush with Mechanicum Standard Grey. Then a lighter but sort of medium dry brush with Dawnstone. Then a fairly light dry brush with Administratum Grey over the entire base, just to catch, or not the rim, but every other part of the base. Then you might notice on, let's use this one as an example, some of I can use one of these as an example. I want to differentiate the sort of generic rubble from the bit of actual flooring that survived from the rocks, or rubble rocks, or bits of rubble that are now rocks. So those ones get an additional dry brush of Longbeard Grey to make them stand out a bit more from the generic rubble. Then we've got the floor of the buildings, like this, it looks nice and sort of slicked with oil and stuff. Then, so those, the different tile types, the lighter ones are painted with Celesta Grey, the little ones with Corvus Black, also using the Corvus Black on things like the eyes and visor slits on some of the bases that require that. Then we have more cast bone for any skulls or skeletons. I don't know if these three have any on, actually. Some of the bases do have sort of half dissolved skeletal bodies or just random skulls lying on them. Do those in more cast bone. Some also have barrels on them. Do the barrels in squig orange, but I'm now seeing that I'm not probably going to use those on these four. I might see if there's a couple of others that I can bring in as well, just so we can see those. Then the power armor for the word bearers, because they are word bearers. Because myself and James from March of War, we are going to be filming a load of battle reports based around the Calth Atrocity and the Shadow Crusade across Ultramar and Imperium Secundus and all good stuff like that. And we both decided, we decided he'd paint word bearers and I would paint Ultramarines, and we'd do a bunch of stuff. So all the corpses on my bases are word bearers, and the corpses on his bases are Ultramarines. Although, because the World Eaters are also involved in the Shadow Crusade and on the fight things like on Armatura, I do kind of want to do a mix, but as it stands at the moment, I've only done word bearers. Then Wild Rider Red is for a couple of highlights to the armour. Now I say highlights, I have applied them pretty liberally without a huge amount of control to make it quite quick. Now Lead Belcher, then on all the metal parts, but also just on a lot of the edges of the marine suits to try and make them look scuffed and damaged. Gehenna Gold on the rim, a couple of coats. It's super thick and separates, so there's an awful lot of shaking involved in that. Then a dabbing of some Riser Rust over the sort of ferrous metal bits. Then my friend Agrax Earthshade over the whole lot. And Skaven Blight Dinge around the rim. So those are the paints. That's the rough technique. And let's have a look at what they look like after the first stage. So here they are after the first step with the Mechanicus Standard Grey. I mean, there's not a huge amount to say. It's just got a little bit of additional texture, but nothing to write home about yet. I found one with some dem bones, bit of a corpse, and one with a barrel to do as well. So now they've had a coat of Dawnstone, dry brush with the big brush, and are looking a bit more three-dimensional. Okay, so we've now had the Fortress Grey, so we're getting more definition. That's the last of the big dry brush. I'm now going to switch to the little dry brush to put the Longbeard Grey on the little stones to make them pop out. Right, so we've dry brushed the outer rocks, and we can see these stand out a bit more from the flooring and other general detritus. So now we come on to the layers. So I'm going to do a few in one go, then circle back with you. So we've got the, where are we? The Celestra Grey and Corvus Black for the tile sections. Obviously Celestra Grey for the lighter bits and black for the diamonds in the middle. Moorcast Bone over the skeletons, and Squig Orange over the barrel. Okay, so we've got those 4 colours applied, and we now have a tiled floor, a slightly darker visor in that helmet, a skeleton with, I mean, you can see I've been a bit sloppy with the painting, but you know what? The Agrax is going to cover that, so I'm fine with it. And then the barrel. Now I'm going to do the marine stuff, and I've got there's a backpack on there, a helm on there, and most of a corpse on there. First off is Corn Red. Okay, now it's time for some Wild Rider Red on the raised edges. I am not going to be too precise about this, just sort of relatively thin paint, blobby in the middle, and the Agrax will smooth it all out. Then we are Lead Belcher on all the metally bits, and to sort of mess up the armour a little bit too. So we now have the metal and the highlights done. You see, I've been quite sloppy with it. I just want to do some variations of tone. The metal parts of the backpack, and again, just a few scuffs and things. It'll all get smoothed over by the Agrax. You know, we've got a tank tread there, and other miscellaneous bits and bobs. Now I'm going to spend an hour and a half shaking this to get it to mix, to paint the gold details. Oh, I tell a lie, I've got one of those vibro shaky things that'll do it for me. Like the best thing I ever invested in. Well, no, I mean, that's probably in my house, but you know what I mean. So now we have the gold on the Marines, principally on the shoulder plates, and a few bits here and there, just sort of around the band of the helms. And then on the metal bits, we have stippled on some riser rust. Not done that on all the metal bits because it won't show on some of the slim one, like for example this one here has a little band of metal across there. It would take a lot of effort to get enough on that to make it show, and without getting it on the tile. Don't want to spend that long doing it, so not doing that. Just picked out the bits that are going to show up. I want it to be I want it to pop enough, but also fade into the background to an extent behind the Marines. So now it's time to coat of Agrax and then paint the rims with Skaven Blight Dinge. Then they'll be done. Woo! And here we go. Our 6 finished bases. Was originally going to be 4, but done a couple of extra bits because of wanting to show the skeleton and barrel stuff. So the next step is to take our painted Marines. If you've seen the previous video, you may recognise these. Take them off the bases that I've had them on just to paint them. Then I'll want to fit them to each base. So these aren't uniform in size. There's some up bits, there's some down bits, and they can make really good dramatic poses, but you've got to fit the right Marine to the right base. So I'm going to attempt to snap these off. They should come off quite easily because I only put a tiny dab of glue on them, but sometimes when I've done this, they've not come off and I've had to clip the base off. But I reuse the base multiple times for different models on them, so losing the odd one or two, not so much of a problem. Right, time to snap and clip. And here we are. Chose these 4 bases. I tried dry fitting them after I clipped them off. They were a better fit for these ones. What I found with doing other units, because I've done about 30 or 40 so far, is that across enough models you can make all the bases work. So what I do is I pair all the bases up before I glue any of them, just so I don't end up with the last one is an incompatible match. But there's plenty of connection points, so you just got to try till you get a good dramatic pose. But you can get really good stuff, like models seeming to sort of leap and vault off things, and being astride the corpse of the enemy, and all that good stuff. So there we go. Those are how I do. I can't even talk. That's how I've done my scenic bases for my Horus Heresy Ultramarines. Hope you enjoyed this video. Watch out for the next one in the series. If you want to support me, check out the description of the video. There are links in there that are ways to do that, like Patreon, channel memberships, joining the channel Discord, anything like that. And check out marchofwar.co.uk for these bases. Big shout out to March of War for the scenic bases. Okay, take care, everybody. See you in the next one. Bye for now.